Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of the Rush Hour podcast. I have breaking news updates in the dueling lawsuits between Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni. As you guys know, he's not only just suing Blake and Ryan, he's suing the New York Times. They're asking Blake Lively's team for a gag order. So I was actually going to make this video for you right now with Justin's response. One of his lawyers has responded to why they think the gag order is ridiculous. But since I was going to make that video, we already have the response from Blake Lively that came out yesterday evening. Let me tell you something. Whenever news drops on Friday evenings, they don't want you to know about it. They think you're just going to mail it in on the weekend, watch your football, eat your chili, and forget all about it. Not you guys. You're here. And I know you're interested because we've gotten literally just hundreds of thousands of views on these videos. So thank you so much for tuning in. And if you've been watching a few videos, you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If we get to 100,000 subscribers, I will be reporting live from New York City if and when this goes to trial. Mark my words. Okay, so anyhow, let's get into these multiple lawsuit responses that we have here. This is what I was first going to cover. Justin Baldoni's lawyer wants Blake Lively's request for a gag order denied. After that, I'm going to share the new response from Blake and Ryan. That's right. Last night, they issued a response. I know it's a lot to sift through, but hey, who needs cartoons on a Saturday morning when you got me? You know what I mean? Poor man's Bradley Cooper right here. The Scrubs version Dax Shepard, whatever the hell you want to call me. Here I am for you. All right, so yeah. Discount podcaster, Dave Neal. All right, so Justin Baldoni's lawyer wants Blake's request for a gag order denied. According to a letter obtained by Us Weekly, Friday, January 24th, Baldoni's attorney, Kevin Fritz, who's another attorney, he's got a lot of attorneys here. Oh, they're going to ring up the bill. He asked the judge to deny the gag order if it is formally requested by Blake Lively's team. Fritz argued that Lively, 37 years old, started the media feeding frenzy and claimed that she provided the New York Times with a copy of her original complaint, which included her allegations against Justin Baldoni, 41, and his studio Wayfair. Yeah, and look, no one's really denying that this happened, that there was an obvious campaign put together. Call it smear campaign, whatever you want to call it. There was a campaign that when Blake Lively came out with her lawsuit, there would be a full-on New York Times spread ready to go. I mean, you don't just whip those things up overnight. The results have been utterly calamitous for Mr. Baldoni and the other Wayfair parties, who instantly became objects of public scorn and contempt. Already, the Wayfair parties have been exiled from polite society and suffered damages totaling hundreds of millions of dollars due to Miss Lively's scorched earth media campaign. Fritz claimed that the move made by Lively's legal team was an intimidation tactic, especially after Baldoni's team recently released unseen footage from It Ends With Us that includes Baldoni and Lively interacting during a dance scene. The Lively parties desire to force the Wayfair parties to defend themselves privately against allegations made publicly is not a proper basis for a gag order, the letter continues. It is tactical gamesmanship and it is outrageous. The decision will be discussed. Now hold on, put this in your calendar. February 12th. All right, I guess we'll be live that day. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We'll be live as we wait for that decision. Earlier this week, Brian Friedman, who is the additional lawyer for Baldoni, released a video. So again, yeah, we saw the video, of course, very fair of them dancing, doing their thing. And Blake Lively's side says gag order. No, this isn't fair. And he says, what are you talking about? You went to the biggest newspaper in the world. So either way, Justin's side says unfair, and now we have Blake's side, hold on, writing their own letter to the judge. And again, this just came out last night. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds accused Justin Baldoni and PR team of continuing smear campaign against It Ends With Us actress, double down on gag order request. I didn't think I'd have that on my bingo card, doubling down on a gag order request, but here we are. Blake and Ryan aren't holding back at all today on why a so-called gag order is necessary for extrajudicial statements by Justin Baldoni's lead lawyer in the ever-deepening dispute between the It Ends With Us stars over what happened during filming of the Sony-distributed domestic violence film and what happened before it was released. Requiring counsel To heed the ethical rules that bind them is not a gag order. It is a mechanism that would ensure the proceedings in this court are not prejudiced by counsel's conduct outside of the courtroom, attorney Ezra Hudson declared for the couple, that's Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, Friday evening in a letter to Judge Louis Lehman over Baldoni, his main lawyer Brian Friedman, Baldoni's Wayfair Studios, and others. The Wayfair parties are attempting to draw a dangerous false equivalence that may have profound consequences, not just for this case, but for other women who are harassed in the workplace, given the high profile of this matter. The lawyer from Manat, Phillips & Phillips continued in the 4-page correspondence just filed in federal court in New York. In what has become a very fast-paced match of legal and media volleyball, the filings from the Gossip Girl alum and Deadpool actor's side comes just over 24 hours after Baldoni's attorney, Kevin Fritz, wrote to Lehman rejecting the couple's demand. So again, we got the Justin side rejecting and them firing straight back. So there it is. There it is. They're saying, and again, let me analyze this. Blake Lively's lawyer is arguing that this is harmful to other women who are victims of harassment. That may be true, but if you want to look at this in a sinister light, you might say, here's Blake continuing to hide what actually went down behind real victims. You could look at it that way. Now, whether or not she's a victim is still hard to know, right? In fact, we've got some clips we can share with you guys. Here we have Juicy Scoop's Heather McDonald saying, hey, it's kind of complicated. You know, they're acting. What are we supposed to do? Have a listen.
I think this is a real fine line because it's a movie and because you are playing a romantic couple. So it is very, very strange. We knew they weren't getting along. The movie was a success. We kind of forgot about it. We forgot that they didn't. When I saw this like a month and a half ago before the lawsuits, I wasn't thinking, oh, that's right. The two of them didn't really like each other when they were at the premiere. I had totally forgotten about it. So what do we think is going to come of it? There are predictions from he will get a settlement that we will never know because she won't want to go to trial with this because it appears he has so much evidence in his favor to say that her complaints were invalid.
And by the way, I don't see a scenario where Justin takes a settlement privately because so much of this is about what the public thinks. If you take a private settlement, then it still is a he said, she said. My guess is what's more valuable to him is that she apologizes. Will that happen? I mean, it doesn't look like that's going to happen at this point.
Or will it go to trial like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? I don't know. I'm gonna say it does get settled, and he ends up prevailing, and he ends up getting a lot of work because of it. And she goes away for a little bit. We just don't really hear from her in a while. And then she comes out and does something really good in about like 2 or 3 years, like a series or something. People forget about it. And as long as whatever new project she does, she brings cookies and it is a delight and looks everyone in the eye. And Ryan Reynolds is nowhere to be seen on the set, providing they're still together, then I think everyone could be fine. So that is my prediction, settlement. But Ryan will continue with Deadpool and continue to be successful because he's a dude and nobody cares. Girls are much harder on Blake, for sure.
You know, there's an actual interesting point here about girls being harder on Blake. And the majority of people that I see watching this, I think are women. In fact, some of my audience on some of the videos was 95% women, according to the YouTube statistics. So you look at that, and what's interesting is it women, and again, maybe you guys could let me know in the comment section, is it women having a better ability to understand when other women are lying? Is that what is being sniffed out here? Or is it just that, hey, we just haven't seen that evidence that you should need to, end someone's career like this, which is challenging because there is that saying that people say where there's no perfect victim. And how is Blake supposed to not be able to share her side of the story? What I've said, sadly, is that while I think I trust that everyone tells the truth, that's where I like to have my moral compass, but people do lie or they have reasons why they get to the place where they get to. I think, sadly, what we need here is just more evidence from Blake. We need evidence that she was talking to her agent that day, text messages, email, complaint, obviously through HR. If none of that exists, you can't just a year later say I was uncomfortable there. You'll never see a sex scene or a romance scene or a kiss scene filmed in a movie ever again. I mean, and what does this do to protocol moving forward? Like, we already know we need an intimacy coordinator. Absolutely, you need that. There's been horrific instances where you're in a violent scene of sorts and it just doesn't go the way where everyone feels comfortable, and you want everyone to feel comfortable at the workplace. You want that. But what does this mean going forward? I think you could always have better communication, and what's complicated is that Justin is the director. He's the actor. So he's kind of pulling all these strings, the producer. And at what point is he acting versus, you just see that gray area go from actor to director. And I'm sure, with the evidence that he has that she initially denied the intimacy coordinator, does that mean moving forward that they don't use the intimacy coordinator at every step? I honestly don't have the answer to this, but these are the types of questions that will be asked when they're filming. Lastly, this was shared on TikTok yesterday, and this is an interview that is aged interestingly from the press tour where Blake actually was asked about the intimacy coordinator. Have a listen to this.
And Blake, you always have a vision. So talk to me about how sometimes you were even the intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes. Like we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have.
Well,
thank
you
goodness.
were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen
that.
this?
That
I
clip.
actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think. Yeah.
She said, I shouldn't have said that. And then Blake says, shut up.
I mean, I think that, romance is really important. You're supposed to, tell a story well and make people feel, but you're also supposed to do it in a way that, is safe and respectful for all. I guess that's the role of as the thing that I did. I did probably everything else. You touched on everything else here and there, but yeah, we were really lucky I'm fortunate to.
All right, so there it is. I mean, bizarre. And again, it's one of those things, like, whatever your preconceived thought is, you might look at that in one way versus the other. It's really hard for me, and I've had people write to me and say, Dave, your take's terrible, or you're staying too neutral. And with respect, I mean, I like to be as neutral as I can as more information continues to come out. Where do I stand right now? I think Justin's in the quote-unquote lead. I think he's winning this battle right now, not just with PR, but with the information that's been shared. And I think that by Blake requesting a gag order, it only further looks like she's trying to silence him from sharing the truth. It's not a good look for her. Again, does she have evidence that she's waiting for trial and it's going to come out and pierce him? I mean, who knows? At this point, I think Justin edges this one out in the public perception, but we'll have to see. Will it go to trial? Well, the reason why Amber Heard and Johnny Depp went to trial is because they were so dug in on their sides. And, whenever, when you're exes, I feel like there's so much more BS that's attached to it. So it's like you just want to, kind of take the other person down with you. I can kind of see that happening with Justin and Blake. I can see Blake, even if you tell her, hey, Blake, she's kind of like Biden. You're like, hey, you got to get out of the race. The poll numbers are in. You're not liked. It's like, regardless of what side of the story you're on, Blake might have the ego, and Ryan might have the ego to say, no, we're going to double down on this one. But it's like, if you don't have that evidence, it's going to look even worse if a jury or a judge rules against you. We'll have to see how it goes. I mean, this could be years in the making. Again, hit the subscribe button. When there's more breaking news, I'll be here to cover it. We'll see you then. Have a good rest of your weekend.